We often hear about infectious sorts of things, and of course in this area and over the last couple of years, of course, Lyme disease has become a very significant concern for people. Can you differentiate a little bit what we might see, and do you see it in the big toe?
You know, honestly, we don't see that often Lyme disease affecting the big toe. They might have the characteristic rash and stuff upon presentation, maybe a history of a bite of some sort, but it doesn't, classic presentation for Lyme disease wouldn't typically affect the foot and ankle.
So it's the bigger joints, the knee.
Exactly right.
The elbows, those wrists sometimes. Okay, so that's good to know. And typically they're feeling worse when they have that.
Absolutely.
As well. So it's always something to keep in mind, no matter where you get joint inflammation. If it gets red, it gets swollen, and it hurts, that's always something to keep in mind.
Definitely.
Yes, and so, of course, if ever you have the opportunity to have to go to someone to get that kind of information. You've had a different kind of story. You had some congenital issues.
I did. Well, I like to say I did.
You did, good. That's a great way to say it. Yes.
I was born with extreme flat feet, and my dad's a doctor, and so ever since I was young, my parents, they took me to specialists, and I had ugly orthotic shoes. In my day, they were very ugly, but I had orthotics. I had probably orthotics for every day of the week, and I did my best, and my parents just kept taking me to specialists, and they said that's the way her feet are. I kept walking on the insides of my feet, and I just got used to the pain. And later on, when I went to college, I remember freshman year, I got to the point I couldn't really walk, and so I went and got the cortisone shots, and it was very painful, but my personality, I didn't let people know how much pain I was going through, and I realized that there are people that don't have feet, so I was grateful I had feet. So I played sports in high school, and I just kept grinning and bearing it, and that was my lot in life, I thought. And one of my doctors, actually, and I remember when I first went into Dr. Buchanan, I just remembered he brought me in, he looked at my feet, and then he had his whole staff come in, and he said, look at her feet. And I was only 20 years old. He said, the whole staff came in and said, her feet are like a 70-year-old person's feet. And that made me very sensitive. Made me sensitive.
Making you sensitive right now, I can see, yeah.
It made me sensitive because I already knew I had a hard time, but I didn't like having everybody know it.
It was validated pretty thoroughly there, yes.
And when I was thinking about my life for this show, I remember walking across campus one semester, and I would trip on nothing, and my feet would give out. And I thought, what's wrong with me? I mean, I was good at the drop and roll and get up and look around.
Right, yeah.
Think,
okay.
I'm okay.
Chevy Chase there,
exactly.
Right. Yeah, you got it.
And but I just kept going, and even though I had that, I just remembered, keep going. And I even tried running a mile under 10 minutes, and I did it in pain, and I did it. But I knew that it would, that was life.
Well, you had a big cross to bear, didn't you? You carried it with you a long time. Well, and Dr. Buchanan, so we're talking about a congenital deformity.
Absolutely. So Aubrey had, she's basically your story of someone that is born with very, very flat feet. That as time goes on, the flatness of her feet wears down both the joints and the tendons. So as she's describing, she's living her life with pain because of really the flatness of her feet.
Can you show us at all what that would mean and sort of how it might look on your model there at all?
Absolutely. So one of the important structures that holds the arch up is a tendon that we don't see on this model that comes right around the back of the ankle and plugs into the middle of this foot. So in this model, we can see a relatively beautiful arch. This is really the way the foot was designed. In Aubrey's case, when you do this side x-ray, literally this arch was completely collapsed, totally flat. And the problem is that puts extreme stress on this tendon, as well as all the ligaments that are designed to be in this arch shape. That flatness of the foot is destined to cause lots of foot and ankle pain.
And I want to know a little bit more about how that ends up manifesting itself, because it seems to me, and as a pediatrician, I see a lot of kids with what looks like flat feet, but when they sit down and they have their feet off the floor, there's a nice arch. Or if they get up on their toes, there's a nice arch. But they pronate, as you say,
right.
Their ankle goes towards the ground. And in certain types of shoes, their feet look awkward. Is that the same kind of thing, or is that a less severe, or is it really a benign sort of process?
That's a great point. So the question is, what we're forced to determine is what's the difference between a normal flexible flat foot. So in children, they might have a flat foot, but as you described, they can walk on their tiptoes and they have the arch recreates and normal heel inversion. And they look at their mom and they're saying, hey, I don't know why you brought me in here. Like, my feet don't hurt. They can run, jump, play, no problems. Aubrey's situation was a little different because not only was she starting to lose some of the strength in her foot, but her feet on a daily basis, despite all the standard treatments, orthotics, shoe changes, physical therapy, she still said every day, my feet are killing me. So that's a big difference between the flexible, normal flat foot and what we really talk about as kind of a pathologic flat foot.
So it is pain. Pain is
absolutely.
And could you get up on your toes at some point?
I could, believe it or not, I took a year of toe shoes, toe dance when I was younger, and it was painful, and I thought, no, this isn't for me. So I tried. It did a lot of things, but it came to a point. I was playing ultimate frisbee on the beach with some friends, which I love to do, but there was more pain than usual. And again, my dad being a doctor, I called home and said, something's wrong, and he said, you need to go see another specialist. And miracles happen. I moved to DC about 8 years ago, and this summer I put the pieces together of, it was a leap of faith move. I moved here, didn't have a job lined up. My sister was moving here, and I actually used to rollerblade in Dr. Buchanan's, and this isn't a made-up story, but this is true. I lived a block from his office, and I used to rollerblade at night in his parking lot because it was a big parking lot, because I love rollerblading. And this summer, after my second surgery, I asked him, how did you get into doing this? And he is one of a few in America, and I'm so grateful. I'm just very grateful because
that's great.
It's changed my life, and it's helped me appreciate, like you said, every day we take a step at a time, and when you're slowed down, we can choose to either become better because of it. And I'm just grateful that Dr. Buchanan took the time, and I'm grateful for the people that are here that have gone through such hard things, but we're smiling now because of it, and it's been worth it. I would do it again. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
I bet.
To have my feet broken and put back together, but he was a master, and I'm so grateful that he's around.
So
the master.
So she tried all the different things, and of course one was basically trying to ignore, and then two was trying to find the right shoe wear. Fortunately, she had a dad who could help by at least giving her some relief on a temporary basis, but over time it got bad enough so that she really needed surgery. What kind of surgery do you do for that? I mean, obviously if your foot is off and you're carrying weight, I mean, they say, what, you in a day, just with ordinary walking, you probably put 1.5 tons on your feet.
Absolutely.
In terms of stress and pressure. I mean, obviously, all of that force goes right down to your feet. And those bones and joints, there are 28 bones, 30 joints. That's a lot of place to distribute all that force, but if there's something out of whack, it can really throw everything out of whack.
Absolutely. So her surgery is what we call a flat foot reconstruction. So again, not a small surgery, and Aubrey will tell you, despite how great she's doing now, it's not an easy recovery process. So we're really reshaping and rebuilding the foot. So in her case, what we're doing is essentially, her foot was so flat that instead of having this nice shape to her arch, as you looked at it, had collapsed, and all the bones were pointing off to the side. So we really went in and did a lot of bone work. So we cut bones on the outside of the foot and lengthened the lateral border or the outside of the foot. We do some work on the inside that brings the inside down. This recreates an arch. We work on this tendon on the inside here to strengthen and repair it. And we actually have to do some lengthening of her Achilles tendon, which, because the foot has been so flat for a long time, becomes contracted. So we're talking major reconstructive surgery on a foot here.